What do we need to do to make a healthy church?
Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's a big question, Phil.
Yeah, I know. I just want you to address that in 30 seconds or less before we wrap up this show. What's one thing we can do?
This is actually what I was going to say as an answer to your question, which is that I think the other thing that this data shows us is not just, like Skye said, the ultimate like failure of a certain materialist worldview. It's also, there is just a human hunger, not only for there to be more to this life, but for there to be a sense of justice and redemption of things. Like, we just spent all this time talking about, right, these causes that are labeled progressive, but Pope Francis really couldn't fit in that box. He cared about all of these various things because Catholic social teaching cares about all these various things. I would say Scripture tells us God cares about all these various things that don't fit in a political box. And some of them right now feel impossible to be fulfilled. Like, you're looking at what's happening with U.S. immigration policy, or you're looking at the loneliness epidemic, and you're looking at the failure of our society to create communities and structure for people to live full, flourishing lives. You're facing great injustices in our policing. Like, whatever it is, you're looking at the world and you're just going, this is not how things are supposed to be. And I have such a strong innate sense that not only this is not the way things are supposed to be, which is a little bit of a move towards, like, well, where do I get that sense? Why do I believe things could be different than that? And a hunger for, tell me that at some point things change. Tell me that at some point wrongs are righted and justice is served and things are made right. And I think the church has a real opportunity here to go, we don't separate out. And we've separated out in various iterations of the church, whether it was like seeker-sensitive stuff, whether it is churches that are sort of captive to political ideologies, whatever it is, we have often severed the community that the church is supposed to be with really actually believing the things the church is supposed to believe. And I think we're going to keep looking at these trends and going, well, maybe people need community, but they're not interested in some of the supernatural stuff, so we'll cut that out. Oh, wait, they're into the supernatural stuff. Maybe we'll get really into that, but none of the demands of the church. No, we have real demands of community. We belong to each other, and that asks big things of us. And it asks that we believe kind of crazy things. But I think increasingly that will be appealing to people. I even see that with like the Gen Zers that are undergrads at Duke. There are a bunch, I've said this on the show before, but like there are a bunch of vaguely progressive-y, mainline churches very close to campus that those students are not going to. They're carpooling to an SBC megachurch across town. And I'm not saying that one is better or worse, but I've heard from the mouths of undergrad students that the reason they're choosing this conservative church is, and I'm almost quoting them here, like, they seem to really believe this stuff. And I think that really matters. Like, we can't choose one or the other, thick community or really believing this stuff. It turns out really believing this stuff is what makes it possible for us to belong to each other in that kind of sincere way. And belonging to each other helps us believe things that are pretty crazy and hard to believe. And the more that we try and pick one or the other of those to appeal to the shifting sands of our moment, the more we actually won't meet the moment.
The more we're just a rabbit in front of a jet engine.
Just getting squished in the engine.
The winds of culture. That was great. It was also longer than 30 seconds. I'm just going to say it was a little bit longer than 30 seconds. Skye, last word.
I think the lesson is you want to be the jet engine. You don't want to be the rabbit. Right?
So you want to be you want to be the culture that sucks people up.
No, I think the difference is, Caitlin's totally correct on this, and you see it in Jesus. For too long, the American church, at least the segment of the American church that we three have been a part of, has kind of put its finger to the wind and asked, what do people want? And that led to the seeker-sensitive movement. What do people want? That leads to Christian nationalism and MAGA. What do people want? Well, maybe they want supernaturalism. Maybe they want candles and liturgy now. And they're always asking, what do people want? Rather than going, what is Christ calling us to be in this moment, regardless of what the world thinks of us? Regardless of what politics says or the categories are or how many people are coming or how much offering is in the play, we will be the church that Christ is calling us to be. And if you are just that, some people will despise you. Some people will be drawn to you. And whether you have multitudes following you or just 12, you're okay, because your value and significance is not in how the world responds to you, but it is in following your Lord. And that is innately attractive to people. And we don't do it because it's attractive. We do it because it's right. And that was Pope Francis. He said the things he said and modeled the things he modeled because he believed they were right in following Jesus. And when you start filtering him through the lenses of politics and cultural trends, stuff like that, it just warps his legacy.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to learn in this moment.
Yeah. Stop warping Pope Francis. Stop it, everyone. That was also longer than 30 seconds, but it was also good.